Well, you're on then, Alan.
Okay. Thought I'd start by asking how the other people in the group been to Ireland. They're in our group here.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you have, so Margaret's been there. Anybody else?
I was there. Joyce Nethercott, I was there.
Oh, Trevor and Joyce as well, eh? Okay, great.
And Lois has been here, and Alan, Lois would ask you just speak a little bit slower.
Okay, you tell me if that is a better rate.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, and if you can't hear me, let me know. I'm a little bit hoarse, so yeah, just let me know. Okay, so yeah, I put together a few slides and then chatted with Mark, and he hadn't received any other ones, so I added a few more. You know, I've only been to Ireland twice, so we're not, you know, by no means I'm not an expert on Ireland, but I can share a little bit about the trips that we had there and some of the highlights, and show you some pictures. And then if you have comments or questions, you know, feel free to interrupt me and ask those. And also for those of you who've been, like Margaret and Joyce and I guess Trevor, yeah, you might have other information and things you want to share as well too. How does that sound?
Perfect.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I'll just jump into the first slide. We had two trips to Ireland. The first one is in blue, the second one's in purple. The first one we started in Dublin and then went down to the southwest corner of Ireland and went around on 3 drives. We picked up a rental car in Dublin, stopped in Kinsale down in Southern Ireland after having gone through a place called Kilkenny. And I'll show you a picture of that in a minute. The 3 drives that we went on were the Ring of Beara, the Ring of Kerry, and the Dingle Way, all in the west of Ireland. They tend to be cultural centers for Ireland, also music centers where a lot of people go to play and study. So, and then the second trip was in the spring of 2023. We went through in Wales and then Northern Ireland. So we saw the second part of the island. Okay. Let me know if I'm going too slow or too fast as we go along there, Mark. This is Kilkenny Castle. So as with other parts of England and Wales and Ireland, there's lots of castles everywhere. This is one that we particularly liked and gives you an idea of you know, some of the medieval architecture. And then this is a stone ring outside of Kinsale. So for those of you who are into things like astral traveling and superstition and druids and all that, these are ancient stone circles that are found actually all over Ireland. For those of you who haven't been there, this gives you an idea of what some of the back roads are like. They really were trails that they've turned into roads, and it's a bit of a challenge when you have to pass a bus or a truck on these roads, especially when you're driving on a right-hand drive. And unbelievably, the speed limit was 60 miles per hour, if you can believe it, on that road. But we took our time, of course, but it gives you an idea of the countryside. And this is from the County Kerry. I think it's the Ring of Kerry. Again, it gives you an idea what the west of Ireland looks like. You've heard this saying before. People say Ireland has 100 different colors of green. And it's true, everywhere you go, you see different shades of green throughout the island. You get lots of rain there as well. The next couple of shots are from a place on the west of Ireland called Skellig Michael, which are 2 mountains that stick out of the ocean 11 kilometers out off the west coast. And in the 6th century, Catholic monks retreated out to these islands and took their books and their knowledge with them in an effort to protect knowledge, you know, during medieval times. And they really lived in this very isolated Spartan life on these islands. So now it's a preserve and you can go visit there. It's also a sanctuary for puffins. It's a big migration center for puffins that cross the Atlantic between Newfoundland and Ireland. So when you go on Skellig Michael, there's literally hundreds of thousands of puffin birds everywhere around the island. It gives you an idea of the climb up to the top. And then at the top, they have what they call these beehive houses. These are the stone houses that the monks lived in. Again, very Spartan. Not much inside, basically like an igloo made out of rocks. Then you can see.
Did they have any source of heat?
Yeah, they did have a hearth, and then there's sort of a hole at the top where the smoke would go out. Yeah.
And the rain come in.
And the rain come in. Yeah, that's right. Now, if there's any Star Wars fans here, the last series of the Star Wars movies, part of it was filmed at Skellig Michael. So if you're familiar with that movie, that's where retired older Luke Skywalker was living as a hermit, and that was filmed on the Skellig Michael. And you can see Ireland in the background. It's about 11 kilometers out. They take you out in fishing boats for the trip, and you go for about a 4-hour trip.
Oh, Alan, these puffins are going back and forth east and west. That doesn't sound like it has any climatic advantages.
Well, that's a good point. The weather's not that much different in Newfoundland than it is in Ireland. Colder.
Yeah.
I guess a little bit colder in the winter in Newfoundland.
Depending how far north you get, yes, yeah.
Yeah. Has anybody here been to the Skellig Michael? No? Okay, so if you do take a trip to the west of Ireland, it's an interesting place to go to. You get to it from the Ring of Kerry, which is close to the town of Killarney, and there's a national park called the Killarney National Park, and many people go hike the Ring of Kerry. So you can drive it, but you can also go on a 5-day or a 10-day hike around the Ring of Kerry, and if you want to, take a boat out to the Skellig Michael as well. Beautiful, it's just beautiful scenery with lakes and mountains and trails, and it's all set up for hiking and walking and sightseeing. Then we moved up the coast. We stayed a couple of nights in Dingle, another music center. And if you go back just one slide, Mark, we stopped at a place called Doolin, which is another famous music center. And of course, every night in most of these towns, there's music in the local pub. And generally locals just bring their instruments and come and start playing in the corner. And it's just wonderful actually to participate in that.
Do the musicians get free beer?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
I'll have to make sure Lois brings a musical instrument if we go.
Yeah, you can join right in. And then after we were finished in the west of Ireland, we went across towards Dublin. On the way, we stopped at a place called Newgrange. This is an ancient burial mound that's older than the pyramids. It's about 3,000 years old. And it's got some mathematical features, including a light shaft that when the light shines, the sun shines on the winter solstice on December 21st, the light goes down the light shaft and lights up the inner chamber. So even 3,000 years ago, the Celts had the scientific knowledge and mathematical knowledge to figure that out. Then this is a stone carving that's in front of it. I don't really know what the circles mean, but you see them throughout Ireland in some of the ancient sites. Anyone else here been to the Newgrange? It's about 40 minutes out of Dublin. So now I'm jumping ahead to our trip, which was a year and a half ago. We decided when we went to Northern Ireland, we started out in Belfast, and as you know, both Belfast and Londonderry or Derry were centres where the Northern Ireland and the Republic were engaged in the troubles for 30 years. So this is a road called Skank Hill Road. This is in the Protestant district in Belfast. So the mural's still there. And what you see illustrated there is what's called the Red Hand of Ulster. And that's basically a symbol for the North, for the Protestant North, the loyalists to the crown. I'll show in a little while. You'll see one on in the Catholic neighborhood, which is a memorial to members of the IRA who were fighting, the Northerners and the British Army during those 30 years. So in between, dividing the two neighborhoods is something called a peace wall. So this, you can see how secure it is. The trouble started in 1968, and the peace accord was signed in 1998. So essentially 30 years, and they established this peace wall. And even to this day, there's gates. There's gates at either end, and the gates are still closed at 8:30 in the evening, even though they're living in harmony and peace. But it's a symbol of the troubles and a reminder that of how awful things were during those times. And here's a mural from the Catholic side, or the Republican side. It was memorializing Bobby Sands, who died in a hunger strike in 1981, and the IRA and the Republicans felt some kinship to the Palestinians. So you can see in the mural, they have the death of Bobby Sands on one side. They have the death of a Palestinian who died in custody on the right side. It's quite sobering, actually, to go through, go down through these neighborhoods and go on a tour. If you do happen to go to Belfast, I'd recommend taking what's called the Black Cab Tour. Various cab drivers will take small groups around and explain all the history of the Troubles, history of Ireland, and take you through the districts and the murals and so on. Then our next stop was in Londonderry, or as the Republicans call it, Derry. So one side of the city is Londonderry, the other side is called Derry. It's still divided, and even to this day, you can see they still have their murals up, and declarations. The loyalists still feel that they're under siege from the Republicans, and the Republicans would still like Northern Ireland to become part of Ireland, the Republic of Ireland as well. So here's this is the Republican or Catholic side. Again, you can see they call it Derry, not Londonderry, and again they call you're entering free Derry, and they give the comparison between Ireland and Palestine as a corollary to some of their struggles. This particular sign and mural is on a road called the Bogside. The Bogside is the site of Bloody Sunday, which was a terrible moment in the Troubles, 1972. British Army moved into a protest, and 16 Republican Catholic protesters were killed. And I think a 17th or 14, I think, and then a 15th died a few months later, and about 25 or 30 people injured. So it was basically a massacre. The troops overreacted, and they were firing into the crowd and so on. So this road now is a sanctuary called the Bogside, and it's got many different murals kind of highlighting what took place at the Bogside, and they keep it as a symbol and for people to see and remember. There's an example of one of the murals, from that day. And interesting, there was an investigation afterwards, but the British Army was not really held accountable. But then finally, there was a second commission started in 1998, and finally in 2010, the British government apologized to the Republican Irish for the behavior of the British Army on Bloody Sunday. So it took 40 years for that to happen. Or 30 years, I guess. Yeah. One of the murals there. Okay, then on a lighter note, in between Belfast and Londonderry is an area called the Giant's Causeway. It's essentially a huge geological formation of basalt that emerged up, from under the earth. I guess it's magma, and it froze in a particular geological formation that create these big columns of basalt. So this is a snapshot of part of it, and it's got the rumor of being the Giant's Causeway for a giant fictitious giant or mythological giant, Fionn McCool, I think, Fionn McCool, crossing over between Scotland and Ireland. And then another picture from sort of close by. For any of you who are Game of Thrones fans, this is a picture of the dark. It's called Dark Hedges. So there, if you happen to watch Game of Thrones, quite a few scenes were filmed with in the movie going or in the series going down through the dark hedges. So took a shot of that. And again, close by is a place called Dunlas Castle. Again, it was another scene, another piece of scenery that was used in Game of Thrones. It was one of the castles. Of course, they filled it in with CGI and made it look complete. But as you can see, it sits on that precipice of a cliff there, commanding view of the sea, and then all the area behind as well. And this picture of myself and Maureen on the Aran Islands. So it's kind of going back out to the west of Ireland again, off the coast of Ireland by the town of Doolin, are three little islands called the Aran Islands, and you get an idea of how the people lived there, really subsistence living. If any of you saw the movie The Banshees of Inisherin, part of that was filmed on this island. But you can see it's full of very rocky, not much soil, and they worked for centuries to clear what they could, to eke out a living and live on the island.
And this is Alan's advertisement. He's available for hire.
Yeah. Okay. Now's the time to crack your Guinness and have your drink. I saw this in a pub one night, and I thought I'd take a picture of it. And we had a good friend, actually. He passed away now. He lived to be about 94, and he had been born in Killarney. So for his 90th birthday, I took this picture, and we got it made onto a T-shirt for him. And he wore that around on his 90th birthday to celebrate.
Well, thank you very much, Alan. That's much appreciated. Yes.
Okay, really, yeah. Appreciate you listening. Hopefully that's interesting to people, and for those who've been to Ireland, if you have more to add or from your experiences, it would be great to hear about them as well. You have to turn your mic on.
You're muted, Margaret.
Should be up at the top on your bar there. Nope. Nope. Can you unmute people, Mark?
No. Well, yeah, I can, but I think it's Margaret who's got it muted.
Okay, there we go. But yeah, you had it for a second, Margaret. There you go.
There it is. No, I said I'd go. I know I want to go back to Ireland. We only spent 4 days or 6 days there, but yeah.
Have you ever been to any place that you didn't want to go back to for longer?
Are you talking to me or generally?
Any of us. I mean,
Probably not. I don't think there's any place I wouldn't go back. Yeah, no, I'd go everywhere.
anybody else?
Years.
You're muted, Barb.
Might be along the top of your screen somewhere. or at the bottom.
Yeah, my mic button is on the top right.
Yeah, yeah. You can probably hear me now. No, that was, I found it and I just couldn't unmute. How I had to do it was hit Control Shift and M. And then I unmuted. So
I've
I'm
never
not sure
heard of
what
that
that was.
before.
Well, it just showed me that as a way to do it. So. Because yeah, I was hitting the microphone and it wasn't unmuting.
Okay, so
I haven't been to Ireland. I'd like to go. Yeah.
Any place you've been to that you wouldn't go back to?
Boy, that's tough. Maybe Many Berries, Alberta, which had its own charm. And the reason we went there was Ian Tyson had said it was the most beautiful place in the world. Well, apart from having a saloon with an actual swinging door, and we met some really great people, there was nothing in Many Berries, and it was flat as a pancake with a few antelope. And I thought, So Ian Tyson lives in Turner Valley, or lived in Turner Valley, which I think is a beautiful place. But nope. So I think I've enjoyed everywhere I've been.
Well, another thought about Many Berries, there must have been a school there at some point, because my Australian brother-in-law, that's where he was sent to teach when he came to Canada. 2 weeks from tomorrow, I'm heading to Perth to see them all.
Ah, that's nice.
Yeah.
I've traveled a lot, been to quite a few places, but and I don't want to go back to some of them because I want to see something else, not because I didn't like the place. But I figure life is short, so I want to see more places. So to go back, my husband likes to go back. If he really enjoyed something, he likes to go back. So we kind of don't agree on that. But anyway, yeah, I enjoy seeing places, and I really look forward to, I won't be getting to Ireland, but to Scotland. But so it is great fun just to see the places and experience them. And I think, Alan, that was a wonderful experience in Ireland.
Yeah.
It looks great.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, no, we really enjoyed it, and with the people are very friendly there, very warm. Dublin is a bit hectic, it's like any big European city, very vibrant and a bit wild, and the Temple Bar is full of young people partying and that stuff like that. But all the little communities, almost every pub has music happening in the evenings, and like I say, people are very warm, and it's very easy to get to now. WestJet flies direct to Dublin from Calgary.
Yeah.
So you just hop on and you get a direct flight. You don't have to go through Heathrow or Toronto or any of those things. And it's a pretty painless way to get there, and pretty easy to get around.
Oh, are you a true Edmontonian saying that Calgary's painless?
Well, I wish we had all the flights.
Alan, were you on bicycles the whole time or some of the time?
No, just that was just a day trip out to the islands. And when we got to the islands, we have gone on we have gone on a different bike trip where we went from Amsterdam to Bruges in Belgium. That was an 8-day trip. That was a really nice trip. I'd highly recommend anywhere in Holland or Netherlands or Belgium or Northern Europe there. But that day was just, we rented them for the day and drove around the island. Yeah. The one we went on in Holland was really it's really slick. You sign up for it's about a 7-day trip. It's all flat there. 95% of the trails are designated bike trails. They're all numbered. You get a bike GPS. They take your luggage from hotel to hotel. So all you have to do is ride, for 3 or 4 hours each day to the next village, and then you go do some sightseeing and so on, and then you carry on the next day. It's very civilized and it's not too onerous. We had hybrid bikes. That was in 2018. If we went back again and did another
Oh.
bike, we would rent e-bikes next time just to make it
Yeah,
a little easier. It shows you what happens in 5 or 7 years if things change.
Well, Alice, I think you joined us relatively late in all of this. And you might be the greenest one here. And your mic is muted. Yeah, you need to unmute, Alice.
Is it on now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're on.
Good.
Okay. Yes, I'm the least Irish, I would assume, but I've never had my DNA. I'm Ukrainian through and through. But I did enjoy Alan's presentation. And I guess the one question I would have for him is, what was he most surprised by once he got there? Like, what was there something that he didn't expect?
I probably two things. The beauty of the country was just stunning. So that was really significant. Just to go through the countryside and get out of the cities and go along the west coast and the cultural heritage, all of that. But another thing that really was a surprise is the emotional reaction to going around through Belfast and Londonderry. It's just very eerie to be there and know what took place and to see the remnants and the intensity of the feelings that people still have, after centuries of conflict. Our cab driver who took us around happened to be Catholic, but he gave a very balanced view. But he said, we will go to the other districts and we'll go to the pub like in the Protestant area and vice versa, but we'll never identify to each other what our background is. There's just certain topics that are still off limits to this day. They'll go there and watch the football game or go to the sports bar, but there's still a lot of tension that still lies underneath after 400 years of conflict.
So being there's so much rain there, is there always that taking a deep breath every morning when you go outside?
Usually, yes. Although I must say the last trip we were there for a week. We didn't have one drop of rain and it was 20 degrees every day. So
Wow.
everyone kept saying it was very unusual. That's
Wow.
not usually. Usually it's about 17 degrees raining.
Yeah,
Like-
we had no rain there either.
Okay. Yeah.
No, it is amazing.
When you mention the emotions, I just had a friend come back from Europe. She went to about 8 different countries, and she went there primarily with her cousin to see all the Christmas festivities that were happening. And she did go to Poland, and she was quite taken, I guess, with emotion in that when they did see some of the horror that happened in Poland, she said she just never expected it.
Yeah.
So
These were
probably,
the German concentration camps?
yes, they would have been, yeah. And I guess the closest I have been is when someone took me on a tour. I went to Pinoca one day, and someone took me on a tour of the old hospital there where the psychiatric patients were. And when I saw the concrete walls and the etchings on the walls, and knowing that people in our province had to be in shackles when they were let out of that institution, I felt creepy feelings when I was in that particular room. So I can't imagine what it was like in Poland or in the war zone that you went through, Alan.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that the Catholic side identifies with Palestine And that's interesting to see that continued
Yeah.
sympathy.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Um,
I mean, they both harbor long-term grievances with the English, dating back to the end of the First World War, really.
Mm.
You know, if
Yeah,
the Brits and the French hadn't given the Zionists access to Palestine, it would be a
Yeah.
lot different place.
Yep, I agree.
yeah, exactly.
And of
Yeah.
course, Alan was saying earlier when we went through this yesterday, the Irish still have their grievances with Henry VIII.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a story one person told us, and like the Henry VIII basically the British took over Ireland in the time of Henry VIII. So there's 400 years there,
Yeah.
and he tried to stamp out and end Catholicism
Yeah.
across Ireland, and they resisted and had several different attempts at revolutions over the years, and then the most recent one was from 1919 to 1921 when the Republic of Ireland won independence from England, but the 6 counties in the north stayed with England as loyalists. So that's where but the tension went back 400 years. So the Catholics and the Celts, they really felt oppressed by the British for 400 years. So it hasn't been that long since they had independence, and still have that desire. The South would like the North to become integrated into the Republic, but the North wants to stay aligned with the King, so to speak.
A lot of
It's
those.
just
So
like
Alan,
us Canadians and the Americans, eh?
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
there's a lot of those Irish feelings that still extend into Canada. I can
Yeah.
think of my relatives all who are based still in Ontario, but we had relatives and ones that came from both sides of the issue in Ireland.
Uh-huh.
And they still, some of them don't really speak to each other, even though they were cousins at some point, or their ancestors were. They don't speak.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The
I
British
don't
were
feel anything.
the British
Alan,
were.
do you know the current population of Ireland?
That's a good question. No, I heard it. Yeah, no, I can't. I just be guessing. Probably about, I don't know, 3 or 4 million, maybe, not more.
Yeah.
Not more.
But when you think about that, you think about how many Irish there are in Boston. Like we were in Boston and we saw the statue from the potato famine.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's a statue of a mother with her child in the center of Boston. In Montreal, just thinking of the sheer population of Irish in those 2 cities, needless to say, other places that the Irish have traveled to, that population has really grown
Yeah.
since that. Yeah.
More outside of Ireland than at Ireland, I think.
Yeah.
Like I think I was reading about the potato famine, 1845. There was something like 1 million Irish people left to other places.
I just looked it up. Present population of Ireland was reported as 5.3 million.
Okay.
And 8.5 million before the potato famine.
Okay. Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead. Well, are we winding down here, crew? Have we had a good hour? Nearly an hour. Some of us have been on for over an hour. Well, thank you very much, Alan. This has been quite educational. And Catherine, if you have a moment, I'd like to talk to you afterwards. I got a couple questions I need to kind of answer. And Donna might want to hear the answer too. So, because we have a paddling issue that I need some help from you with.
So I wanted to say, I just wanted to ask everybody what they were drinking. I actually had some Bailey's Irish cream in here.
I had a
Limeade.
kiwi drink. I had a kiwi drink, which has nothing to do with Irish.
Okay.
Except the color.
Well,
That's right.
And a Coca-Cola, okay.
and I have the Guinness, but the zero alcohol, and saw where they were made in Dublin. And I'm not a great beer drinker, but I like really dark beer. And this one actually still tastes like the original. So that's what I'm having now. But tonight I'm going to have a Ballykeefe whiskey, which is also
Alright.
it's a single estate in Ireland. I'm not an alcoholic, but
Well, I'm singing tonight at 7:30, so I'm only drinking Earl Grey tea.
oh,
There is an Irish breakfast tea somewhere.
there
I
it
have
is.
people
some.
drink.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So is the person singing going to be singing any Irish songs?
No, we're preparing for a concert. We've got a concert April 5th and 6th. And there's some Beethoven and some Handel and some spirituals, but no Irish songs.
No Irish.
Joyce, I've taken a couple of screen dumps. I'll send you a picture and some stats for this.
That's great. Thanks. Thanks, Mark. And thank you, Alan. It was really great. It brought back memories of where, because I was asked earlier where in Ireland I went, and I blanked out. And the number of places you mentioned, yes, we did manage to get there. So thank you
Yeah.
for the memories.
A great
well,
idea.
It was fun to do it. It was fun to do it, and we loved both trips when we were there. And if you haven't been, I'd recommend try and go sometime.
I'll take you up on that, Alan. It was a great presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you. Fun to do.
Well, very good, crew. And
Yeah.
like I said, Catherine, if I could ask you a couple quick questions here that I hope you can answer.
I'll try.
I
Bye.
should have
Hey,
them
Bob.
up.
Bye, everybody. Thank
Bye.
you,
You
Alan.
want a hand up?
Thank you,
Bye.